1 sec. It says it's preparing.
Okay.
Okay, it looks like you're live, Lois.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. This is the June meeting of the Salem Library Advisory Board, and we welcome you. I will call this meeting to order right now, and our first agenda item will be the approval of minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes that we received from last meeting?
Yes, I have some.
Okay, go ahead. Was that Francine?
Yeah, and Catherine.
Okay, go ahead, Francine. I can't hear you very well.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me better?
Yeah.
Okay, under the Friends report, I would like to add the board. The Friends board will be actively recruiting to fill 6 vacancies on its 11-member Friends of the Library board by September. I think it's important that that be included.
Okay.
The other thing I would like to see changed is on the second page, discussion items. But Catherine, since that is the area you were reporting on, did you have corrections to that area? I would defer to you if you did, otherwise I'll give mine.
I have one correction, but then you go ahead and do yours. I would just say that on page 2, the middle of the page, where it says Catherine shared that lab had proposed some language, I'd like to insert the word policy, propose some policy language for the Our Salem Comprehensive Plan. So go ahead, Francine, with your proposal.
Well, this is what I would change it to. Catherine shared that most of the language proposed by lab to Our Salem is included in the draft to language presented to City Council. It now reads, library services, improve access to library services in neighborhoods through enhancements such as mobile and virtual programming, co-location of services with other amenities, and additional branch libraries. I think it's important that we have the new language in to refer to. And there are people on this board who weren't around a year ago when we were drafting that. So that's my rationale. The other thing I'd like to see included is the following. City long-range planning staff have proposed an additional library policy for the quote, Our Salem, unquote, comprehensive plan. This new policy idea will be tested in the community, and it reads, libraries as gathering spaces, foster the evolving role of libraries as valued community gathering spaces. I'd like to see that language actually in the minutes.
Question, Francine. Do you then suggest that this existing second sentence of that paragraph be deleted that says city staff accepted some of lab's suggestions and some modifications into the draft plan for city council?
I don't have any problem with leaving it or taking it out. I just think it's important that the new language is actually in there. So,
Okay, because that refers to the existing proposed policy, and not the current
right,
proposed policy.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Well, those are some extensive changes, and I'm fine with that. And I think it would read better because on that last action item, it just says Gretchen moved and Denise seconded that the motion also. We don't know what the motion really was. So, Catherine?
So yes, on that action item, I propose that it read Gretchen moved and Denise seconded that the proposed new Our Salem policy include blah, 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 blah. And then towards the end, you could delete the reference to for our Salem comprehensive plan. I think it reads much more clearly if the reference to the Our Salem plan comes up at the top.
Does that coincide with you, Francine?
I take Catherine's suggestions fine.
Okay, so Clarissa will listen to this probably many times so she can add the correct language. And I like that because I think it makes it more clear, Francine and Catherine.
I will forward you my a write-up of what I've stated to make it easier for you.
Okay, great. Send that to Clarissa, right?
Yep.
And you can copy me. Okay, so with those, does anyone object to those changes? I don't hear anybody. So, so I need a motion to approve the minutes with the corrections and additions.
I would be happy to make a motion that we adapt the language as stated by Francine and coincided by Catherine Daniels into last month's or May's agenda minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, Gretchen is always a lovely second. All in favor, please indicate in some way. Oh, I see one thumbs up. Thumbs up. Okay, Bill, are you there? I don't see anything from you. Yes, thumbs up. Okay, we do have a quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, all right, great. So that is done. Okay. Is there anyone that is here for public comment? Eric Schumann, is that, I said your name right, correct?
Yes, you did.
So it is our practice to follow the same protocol as the Salem City Council when we have public comment. So you will have 3 minutes, and at the end of that, someone will let me know that, oh, Sarah?
Clarissa will let you know that the
Okay.
3 minutes are up. She will be our timekeeper for this. I'd also like to request that in the future, Mr. Schumann follow the procedures that we had sent him via email. There was actually a sign-up sheet for comment, and we would prefer to have city staff send the information for the log on to this meeting and not have lab members do that. So please, in future, anyone who wants to do public comment, please send an email to spladmin@cityofsalem.net, and we will get you the sign up sheet to sign up for the public comment the day of the meeting. We are trying to follow, at least for the Zoom meetings, the same procedures as City Council in that, as well as the 3 minutes that you mentioned there, Lois. Just wanted to make that point kind of broadly for the future.
For Chair Stark, if I may, this is Michelle Teed. If we could have our community members state the information that would ordinarily be on the sign-in sheet for purposes of our record. So that's very likely name, who they represent, email address, etc.
Oh, okay, are you willing to do that, Mr. Schumann?
Eric, yes, I am.
Oh, okay. So you're okay with me calling you Eric?
Please.
Okay. All right. So state your name and who you represent, and do an email address.
I'm
Right,
Eric.
Okay.
I'm Eric Schumann. I am the president of the Mid-Valley Travel Club, and it's ericpa3@comcast.net. So I'm here, first of all, to tell you that I'm a 31-year user of the library. I love our library. I've loved it from the first week that I came to the community. The mission of our organization is to educate the community about destinations, people, and cultures on all 7 continents. And we've been doing that for the past 20 years, most of those years using the beautiful Laux Lecture Hall as a library-sponsored group. And we meet once a month, 9 months a year, September through May. And our programs are presented by members, by guests, and we have 30 to 60 people in attendance generally. After the retrofit and knowing that you were coming back online, I contacted library administration to get back on the schedule and was told that our mission was not in line with the mission of the library. I was told that by Alice, I've forgotten her last name, one of the administrative librarians. And then we received about the same day a letter from her through our program chair saying that the only people, that there will be no ongoing groups using the library on a regular basis, that you could only sign up for 3 months in advance for 1 meeting. There was no longer going to be library-sponsored groups, and that the only ones they would give a reduced rate to were 501c3 organizations. Our budget is $100 a year for a website. We do not charge dues, and we are not affiliated with the government or have a tax designation. So we're very disappointed that the library has decided that we're not in line with their mission, since we do have an educational mission. And I'm very sorry to hear that. And we really regret it. And so will the members. We've been thrilled with using Laux and hoped that we would continue the relationship.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Does anybody want any further information or have a question for Eric? Okay. Oh, Catherine.
Could we hear an explanation from Sarah for what the library is doing and why they're doing it?
Absolutely. It's in the City Librarians Report in some detail. And what we have found, and I think there might have been a miscommunication there because we weren't telling the travel club that they're not in line with the mission. We're saying that sponsored programs are no longer in line with our mission as a whole, because we have found that there is at times a lack of equity and a lack of, they are promoted as though they are library programs. That we have staff at, and that we have a appearance at, and are actually partners with, rather than the current sponsorship model. And that has caused issues when people have been kicked out of meetings, and it's also caused issues that we have staff who have tried to sponsor. Who have tried not to sponsor, but have tried to actually set meetings for their own programs and have been blocked by the long tenure of every month having a meeting already in a spot. They can only program out about 3 months at a time. So this 90 days is actually keeping everyone in line with them. And we note that the true partnership model that we're aiming towards here is one, the same model that we see across the state. There is no other library in the state that has a sponsorship model like we did. And two, we also note that we've had some issues with the use of our auditorium by groups that the public has strong feelings about, including groups like Proud Boys. And our saving grace of that was that they were not a sponsored program, but there is literally no agreement, no contract, no language around what it would take to be a sponsored program in a way that we could actually stand on that to deny that kind of group a sponsorship. So what we're doing with the partnership is really firming up the language and making sure that every program that we do partner with, which is discrete sectional programs, are one at a time, are actually meeting the mission, vision, and values of the library going forward, and furthering us in equity and in collaboration with the community. I hope that answers the question and gets to it in a good way. And I'm happy to entertain any other questions from Lab. I will also note that Laux Auditorium for a nonprofit group is $25 an hour. Looking around at other rates for other groups, it's $50 for a for-profit group. Looking around at other comparable spaces, we did not see any that were that reasonably priced.
Oh,
Francine?
how many sponsored groups are there?
That is a really great question. Sonia, you're on the call. Do you know off the top of your head how many sponsored groups there are?
About 8.
About
prior
8.
to us leaving the library.
So I understand that some of the rooms, like the Plaza Room, will be available for groups to free of charge.
Right.
So I want to make 2 points here. One is that that discriminates against large groups because there's a limitation of 11 people in that room. The other thing that I'd like to bring up is that it relates back to something I brought up at our last meeting about barriers to, at the last meeting we talked about, and that was language that, that I just read about fostering community, the library as a gathering space, the evolving role, and this seems to go in the opposite direction. But when I was bringing up last month about barriers, I've actually looked up the rules for 501c3. You have to actually have money to have, it's a federal tax designation. So I wonder whether perhaps our lawyer can help us with this, with another term that is more inclusive, like non-business community groups, for example, or, there might, I don't really have to know what to call a group that can't really be 501c3 because it doesn't even have any money to be in that designation. So there's nonprofit comes under the narrow description of 501c3. And I'm feeling that the word nonprofit should have a broader application if we're looking at barriers.
So that is in keeping with the rest of the practices for, if you look at the fee schedule for the entire city, that is in keeping with their practices for designating a nonprofit group. But I think that this is absolutely, the solution to this problem, I don't think is resuming sponsorship. I think it's talking about the cost and just to Francine's point, the nonprofit designation.
This is Michelle. Can I jump in with a few thoughts?
Go for it.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Okay. So this is a really good discussion I appreciate the vibrancy of it. The financial status of the groups is not a basis for equal protection claims. So that would not be a basis for a discrimination claim. There might be room to consider an exemption, a waiver policy. So for instance, some groups allow for an application, almost like a scholarship, like you sort of explain why you can't pay. And then the organization sort of waives your fee or a good portion of the fee. And as I understood our guest, that organization has there's virtually no funding. And I think the conversation about how to make sure that we accommodate all groups that would like to use the space is good. There's a balance here of First Amendment rights, and the library would want to be sure to not discriminate on point of view. So there's just a number of balancing factors here, but I'm happy to assist in any way and follow up on this to see if there are options that we can provide. And I'll look to Sarah or to Chair Stark for guidance or requests on for information or support on how I can help the mission.
Thank you, Michelle.
One of the thoughts I had was the idea of equity. And I think equity is not only about nonprofits or the mission of a group, but that the library spaces are available for lots of different people. So in other words, I think in the past we've had groups that just kept using the space over and over, month after month after month. And I think, I mean, that's nice for the group, but if somebody else wants to use it, then it's not real nice for that group. So I like the idea of spreading the use of the spaces around a bit, because then we have different kinds of groups and not the same groups over and over, month after month after month. That's what I'm seeing about equity. Also, I am a member of a group that when we come, it's not at the library, but when we meet, everybody puts in $2. And if you got 60 people that come to a group, that's $120. So, you know, $25 an hour is going to be pretty easy to come up with. And if somebody absolutely can't pay that $2, then maybe somebody else in the group. I'm just throwing out ideas, but I do, Francine, we do want lots of groups to be able to use the library, just not the same, well, in the way I see it, the same groups over and over and over. Anybody else have anything they want to say on this?
Lois, I'd like to just chime in and back up also what Francine is saying, simply about the difference in the price for the for-profit and the formally designated NGOs, because there are lots of groups that are not for-profit that I think it would be lovely if we could give them waivers, at least for the lower price.
And I just want to chime in that Michelle's point about the waivers is also the point that concerned us about the sponsorship program with the points of view and the First Amendment rights that Michelle was talking about. So while we absolutely will look into anything that the Library Advisory Board is looking for, there is a concern there that I want to make sure is really highlighted.
Okay.
Chair Stark, if I can interject.
Yes, Michelle, go ahead.
Just to put a finer point on it, that means that if the Proud Boys can't afford space, they are treated the same as the Dollhouse Curators of America. And so that's just something to keep in mind. We cannot make decisions based on point of view or perspective or opinions. I know everybody knows that. I'm just sort of putting that on the table. Another option might be to consider a number of free uses within a year by an organization. So maybe organizations get 2 free uses a year. And beyond that, they need to pay something. So maybe that would be another idea to consider. And I realize I might be a little bit outside my lane here, just brainstorming.
Thanks, Michelle. And
thank you.
This is a part of the budget process as well. So what we have shown you all is something that is going forth in the budget process. So it would be a bigger conversation that we would need to have over the course of time for any changes to that.
All right. Also, I know that there's lots of things going on at the library right now. I'm glad we got a heads up about this, but I did not know about it probably before Eric. I want to say Mr. Schumann just because it sounds better. That I think I would have liked to have gotten a little bit more of a heads up about what was going on, so we could field questions from the community.
Duly noted. Thank you, Lois.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Eric, for being here, and you are welcome to stay. We are going to move on with the Teen Advisory Report.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm Katie McManus. My pronouns are she, her. My age is 15, and I am going to Summit Learning Charter / Portland Community College at this time. One of the bigger projects we have finished this month was a promotional video for the summer reading program, which has been shared with families and schools as part of encouraging people to get signed up for the summer reading program. It was an interesting challenge figuring out how to do this without being able to be together, and we'd like to share it with you. And I was wondering how I was going to share this.
I'll share it, Katie.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you should be able to see this now. Can you? Awesome.
Yep.
So bored. Nothing to do. Yes, I'll read a book. Oh. Time.
Go.
And then tab members were also featured in another video talking about their experiences as teens in the library, which Sonia used for a training for 20 staff members focusing on service to teens in general, reading advisory for teens, and an orientation to the Salem Public Library Teen Seat. That one is 40 minutes long, so we can't show it, but staff said it was really helpful in understanding the teen perspective and needs.
Thanks, Katie. I'm Samantha Hart. I use she, her pronouns. I'm 14 years old and I go to the Jane Goodall Environmental Middle School. Tab also brainstormed a bunch of fun ideas for the Goose Chase online scavenger hunt in July. This is a challenge the library hosted last year that got a lot of families involved in doing activities and submitting pictures. We are also recognizing 2 tab members who have been very important to us. Our current co-chairs, Brinsley Hammond Brewer and Bella Ramey, will be graduating Friday from South Salem High School. Brinsley has been on tab for 7 years since joining us as a 6th grader, and Bella joined us in 7th grade and has served for 6 years. They have both been active leaders involved in many tab projects over the years. They'll officially remain with TAB through August 2021.
All right. Thank you, Samantha and Katie. I really liked that little video. That was very nice. Anybody have any questions for these TAB members? All right, thank you. Good work. Chair's report is next. I don't have anything except I am looking at the financial statements of of the lab's funds, and if there's anybody on this board that loves to look at financial statements, please get in touch with me, because we're trying to figure them. I'm trying to figure them out. So shoot me an email and we'll talk. That's all I have. The Librarians Report. You got anything else, Sarah, besides what you wrote?
I did want to let you know that I was at the main library today when Amanda Wojcik was bringing in her artwork and started putting it up on the wall. I mean, I didn't see her put it up on the wall, but she was bringing it in when I was there. And so that's been very exciting. I talked to Safara Harold today at the Salem Reporter about our move back plans, which include being prepared to open on September 1st, and hopefully with COVID and everything that is going to happen. It will be more of a soft opening with a plan for a grand opening party later on. We haven't determined a date for that yet and are still looking at that. And we will be closed for about 2 weeks in late August to finish the move and be prepared to get everything ready and have the soft launch on September 1st. So that part I think is good to highlight. I also wanted to let everyone know that the steering committee for the strategic plan, we were unable to have our equity lens meeting in June. And so we are having that, we just sent out a doodle poll today to get some dates in July to have that happen. The overall strategic plan timeline, it has moved some, so I wanted to make sure that you all were aware of that. And that is, I think, about it for all of the news there is to share. We are always continuing to look at what we can do to increase our services in the meantime before September 1st. Any questions from anyone on the City Librarians Report?
Francine?
Yeah. Can you help me understand, in your report, perhaps this wasn't the right date, but you wrote about library spaces, new meeting room policy in May of 2020. Did you mean 2021?
No, that was when we started doing research. The whole process was a pretty long process. Well, and it's now in legal review.
I guess the question I would have is, there's many things we talk about on this lab board, and I've only missed one meeting when I was in the hospital. So I wanted to ask, like, why this comes up at this point. Why have we not been appraised of even that this was a consideration?
That's a great question, Francine. And you are actually going to have the meeting room policy brought to you when it's through legal review from Michelle. So, it is my fault. I take full accountability for the fact that I didn't start sharing this out with you, but we also have been working on this and it's been a longer process, and the decision to do away with the sponsorships was a more recent decision. And we weren't, we wanted to have it go through legal review. Unfortunately, the timing was such where we actually started getting questions before it could go through legal review. And we wanted to be proactive and upfront about what the changes would be for the people who are asking those questions. So once we realized we weren't going to have the luxury of having it be a passed, followed through policy that goes through the normal processes, that we were going to need to start talking to people before that, then that's when we realized we needed to bring it to the advisory board. So it is my fault. I take full accountability and full responsibility for that. And I'm very sorry that I didn't apprise you of that earlier.
And may I add some information?
You may, from my point of view, yes.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you. So this is Michelle Teed. Yes, it's with us. And I also want to share in the accountability portion of this, 2 things. One, due to staffing and workload changes, I think that's impacted legal's ability to support this effort, or in the time frame in which most people would wish it to happen. Secondarily, I am working on this policy, and it presents some very interesting constitutional and equal protection issues with respect to how the library would like to manage its facilities, just sort of next to or in connection with, or as it relates to Oregon law in general. So I am working on it. It has, again, it presents some interesting and unusual issues, but it's in the hopper. And I do understand that this is something that you would all like feedback on and to be able to move forward on. So I will do my best.
Thank you, Michelle.
Also, Michelle, is this policy something that would have to go to City Council?
I don't believe it would.
Okay.
And I will drill down on that, but I don't think so. Generally speaking, there's a very narrow range of documents that must go to City Council. When I'm referencing sort of constitutional and equal protection issues, those questions have to do with who's in the facility, what might be in the possession of those individuals, how they can use the facilities, etc.
Okay, so Sarah, just briefly, if we did have input into this policy, I mean, is it too late? You've already put this out?
Okay. That's what I'm saying is we wanted to have legal review it, which is our usual process for anything that we bring to you. So this, the agenda item on this agenda is because Francine asked for it, but also we did start sharing out with members as we realized that the questions were going to continue coming, that we needed to share this out more broadly before we were actually prepared to bring this to the group, because it hadn't been through legal review yet. So yes, you will have, we will bring it to you to have a chance to review and vet the entire policy, including this portion.
Okay, all right. I think we'll move on then to Carol, Friends of the Library Report. Carol?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I do not have any more information for y'all since my last report. So what was in the minutes as amended is basically where we're at. We're working on it. And Kate has supplied me with some materials and information that are very helpful, and you know, our goal date has not changed, so that is where we are. And
okay,
you all.
Thanks, Carol. So is there anything from the foundation, Gretchen?
Other than we're working on the art placement, and Eric and I have had meetings with Kate, and we're working with SPAT. And once we're open or beginning, able to go in and look, then we'll be moving along.
Okay, will you let us know what SPAT is? Because I have
Oh, I'm
this
sorry.
about acronyms.
Public art, the Public Arts Commission.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Yeah, it's just if somebody's listening and they don't know, I they might go, what's that?
Exactly.
All right. So I just got a text from Catherine. Her power is down, and she's trying to get into Zoom, but Clarissa doesn't respond. So I don't know, Clarissa, if you get something from Catherine, she's
I
trying.
haven't received any calls or anything.
Okay.
Clarissa, is anybody in the waiting room?
She actually just entered.
Oh, she just came
Oh, there
up.
she is. Yay. She's here. Okay. So we're to discussion items. I think we decided we would not do the ethics training because we want visuals, because that's a good thing for learning. Francine, tell us about the tab donation.
In the May meeting, the tab members said that they were planning for a project that they call Take What You Need, and which will be, and it's in the minutes, providing small personal items and brochures, information from local service agencies in the main floor bathrooms. The items such as socks, lip balm, tissues, feminine products, hand sanitizers, mittens. And I wondered if perhaps we might, maybe Sonia could help us with this. I don't know if are you still on, Sonia? To see if they need a donation from our fund, the funds that we have to assist them in this, which I consider to be a very gracious effort for people's hygiene and dignity, and having volunteered at warming centers. I know these things are really welcomed by many, many people. So.
Sonia, are you on? Clarissa, is Sonia in the waiting room by any chance? I did just tell her that she might want to come back on.
Sonia is not in the waiting room. She's not in this meeting.
Okay. I am sure that they would probably enjoy having a donation, but I don't have her here right now. I should have reminded her that it was a topic. I'm sorry. But I don't know what they would need in terms of a donation either. So.
I would suggest, Francine, that when we get to action items, you think of an amount and make a motion. And I doubt that they would turn it down if we did give them a donation. So does that sound okay, Francine?
I think it would be better for us to, like Sarah, okay, does that cause any problem within the library or within, I mean, can they accept a donation or like that? I mean, is there any problem with that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Michelle, Michelle's here. Michelle, is there any issue from your end?
Well, if I understand, there's no request for a donation, and we don't know how much they would request or what it would be used for. We have a sense of what it would be used for. My recommendation would be there's probably no harm in giving it a month until the person can come and make the specific request and substantiate that. I feel like that's probably the safer course.
Yeah, my apologies. I should have had Sonia be on here and staying around.
Well, Francine, I'm going to let you decide what you want to do about that. I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah, that would be my choice too, to have either the tab members kind of come up with something, a request, with Sonia's perhaps guidance on it rather than just kind of pulling the number out of the air. I don't feel comfortable recommending that as an action item.
And I would be happy to make that request of Sonia and the tab.
Okay. I think we got a plan. All right. Thanks for thinking of that, Francine. The next item is July meeting. I had thought that we would be in the thick of planning, doing the strategic planning, and might need to have a July meeting. And that might be the case, but it doesn't look like it now. So we can call a meeting as long as we give 24 hours notice. So I am not going to move to have a July meeting at this point. So we can just mark that off and move on to the next item, which is meeting room fees, which we kind of already talked about. I just want to ask one thing, Sarah, on the piece that you sent out to us about the library partnership message. So it said, these relationships should further the library's goals in one or more of the following ways. And I guess I just needed to hear, like, what would this in real life sound like? So you have to either increase library visibility in the community. What does that mean? Like, if you have a group that is doing like a reading program, or what?
So, I think to your point, it was to your point earlier about there being a number of people, a number of different groups that we could partner with in the community, and wanting to make sure that we're reaching a bunch of different groups in the community by having these partnerships and bringing in new people to the library to explore spaces and having fresh partnerships.
And then the number 2 goal would be support library activities, services, events, and programs. So that would mean that, like, having the rooms available for the library itself. Is that true? Okay. Right. And then enhance or create ways to respond to identified community needs. And does that mean, like, say the city council is studying unsheltered people, then they might need a room to have a meeting?
City council would not fall under the same auspices as the partnership thing, because they are part of the city, and the library is part of the city. But to your question, and can you repeat that goal one more time, just so I make sure that
enhance or create ways to respond to identified community needs.
Yes. So think about the strategic planning process, right? We may find through that process, which most of the month of July will actually be data gathering. So to your point earlier, I don't think we'll be in the thick of the planning process, but the data gathering. We find that there is a huge need for a partnership to have kids experience STEM workshops, and a partner wants to work with us on that with STEM programming. So that would be the kind of thing that we're thinking of there. Like, there's a need that we've identified through surveys, through requests from the public, through any variety of needs or any methodology. Oh, you know, it could come from city council. City council might hear a number of people comment and say that they would really love to have conversations like our Exploring Together topics, and would love to see that happen. So that might, and could we partner with X group to do one of those? Then that would, you know, potentially be a need that we would be meeting.
So would a group like, say, I'm just thinking out loud. So would a group like, say, the AAUW, which is the American Association of University Women, like say they were studying civics and they wanted to do a program, that would come under that goal. And they wanted to use Laux Auditorium. Would that?
Potentially it could. Yeah.
Okay.
We have to see the whole proposal and take everything together in context about what it is that they want to do and how they want to do it, but that would be the idea.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's go to the last discussion item, which is the most fun. Lab input into the strategic plan. And that is by Catherine. And I have to say, Catherine is a planner. She is a certified, I don't know if that's the right word, planner. She worked for the state. So she's kind of taken some of the brunt of this strategic plan. So go, Catherine. Uh-oh.
Catherine?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm on my phone. I've got a low battery. Trying to talk fast. PG&E just told me my power's out in my neighborhood. So I'm on my phone here. Anyway, so yeah, so you've seen the little summary, I hope, in the at the end of the Sarah's report, librarian report, talking about lab input into the library strategic plan. I just wanted to give a little intro to what I said there, and that's that in the RFP that we put out, the library put out for a proposal, and also in the description online of the Salem Library Strategic Plan, there is identified there the topics that the strategic plan will consider. And I just want to read those briefly. They include equitable access to the library building, services beyond the building to reach more of Salem, the purpose of the collection and collection development policy, and the context of community need and organizational capacity at the library and within the city organization. So that's all up online under a description of what the strategic library strategic plan is all about. So that's the what of what's going to be in the strategic plan. But the proposal we have from the consultant describes the how, not the what. So Lois and I thought it was important for the lab to have an opportunity to discuss the what a little bit more, maybe in a little more detail. So we tried to flesh out what's meant by those four broad topics I just described. And that's what's in the list that you all have in front of you now, that's at the end of Sarah's librarian report, including branch libraries or co-location, Monday hours, collection development policy, fines, budget enhancement, and other topics. So, Lois and I want to open this for discussion by all the lab members, see what thoughts you might have on these topics. We're not thinking of making recommendations at this point to the steering committee, but just to kind of talk a little bit about what we think about these. Lois and I want to each have a few things to say about each one of them before we open this up for discussion. And Lois is going to start with the branch libraries or co-location.
Okay, it's somewhat self-explanatory, and we've already got some language that we got into our Salem Comprehensive Plan, and I believe also in the Salem City Plan, that there's a need for branch libraries, particularly in the northeast part of town, or co-location, meaning like you have a branch library, say, or you have something at Center 50 Plus, someplace where people can take out books or just check out what's there. So that's what we mean by branch libraries or co-location. And then Monday hours, Catherine's going to talk about.
So we're one of the Salem Main Library is one of very few in the state that has no Monday hours. That's because some years ago there was a real budget crunch at the city, and so the Monday hours that we did formerly had were cut back. The city manager's office has estimated what it would cost to bring those hours back on Monday, but the city budget committee has said that they want to wait to see what the library strategic planning process has to say about it before they do any more thinking about that topic. Next thing is collection development policy. I just wanted to say that includes looking at the types and mixes of different materials that the library offers, not just books, but ebooks, audiobooks, computers, periodicals, all that sort of thing. Also, I think whether to what degree we include foreign language books. It looks at acquisition and retention policies. So those are the broad concepts that are included within the collection development policy. The next topic is fines. And maybe Sarah could tell us where we are with respect to fines. I'm kind of confused about whether we have fines anymore or not.
We do still have fines broadly. During the pandemic, and while we have limited ability to accept returns, we have suspended fines and extended due dates on Salem materials, and also when people return any materials, they are being checked in fine-free. And that will continue for a period of time after we are, open and able to fully accept returns like we were before, because we know it will take a while to get all of those materials back that people were holding on to during the pandemic. So that is where we are. We don't have a policy or an overall go ahead to suspend having fines entirely. That is something that I think I would love for the steering committee and for Lab to think about and address, because I have provided Lab in the past with information about the success of going fine-free at other libraries, and Washington County libraries have gone completely fine-free. I believe Multnomah are either fine-free for children or fine-free completely, and other libraries and CCRLS have gone fine-free or fine-free for children's materials.
Did we go fine-free for children's materials or not? Okay, we did not. Oh, okay.
We started talking about it and then decided to talk about going fully fine-free, and then we haven't gotten there yet. So
Sarah, when we had fines, did the fines go back to the library?
They go to the general fund.
General fund.
Ooh.
Huh.
Okay. Well, that's a great segue into budget enhancement. So I think it's worth talking about maybe trying to get some better funding for our library, which I don't think it's a big surprise that compared to some libraries our size, we do not have the same funding sources, and therefore are somewhat we're not funded as well. But we have a great staff and we have a great library. We just, in my opinion, could look at some better funding. And then we're going to talk about wild ideas. And this is where it gets fun. Oh, yes, we are. And I want to encourage each of you to read an article. It's called, and I will send this out through Clarissa. It's called Rising to the Challenge, Re-Envisioning Public Libraries. Now, this is already dated. It was this was like a symposium kind of deal. that was done in 2014. It was sponsored by Bill Gates, the Aspen Institute, but it has, what it is looking at what libraries will be and kind of re-envisioning libraries. And I read it and I was just like taking all these notes and, you know, furiously writing stuff. But I think it's worth reading because we're planning for the next 5 years. So we gotta get up to date. So I encourage you to read that. Other things is, so now let's open it up. Does anybody else think there's some other things we should be looking at or have some wild ideas that you think either maybe not strategic plan, but just kind of a cool idea, like Steve had something that I don't know, check out a person or something. So let's talk. Not everyone at once.
Lois, we had talked about the Library of Things, and I think there was a survey where we could fill in some ideas or thoughts about that. But this weekend, I had an idea, or a couple of days ago, I would sure like to see the Library of Things have travel information. Specifically, I was looking for topographical maps, you know, to include all of the trails around. And it's not easy to find sources of that. But is there a way we can continue to add to the Library of Things, at least suggestions?
Go ahead,
So,
Sarah.
sorry, Lois. I would just say that I'll take that idea to the Library of Things group. So what will probably happen is that there will be periodic, so this is the initial creation of a Library of Things that we have not had before through the DEQ grant. As we build this collection and it gets going and we see things out there, we'll probably open up different ways for people. There's always our request a purchase form on the website is always one way to suggest things that you would like for us to put into the collection, and that would include Library of Things. But we'll probably do periodic surveys, maybe once a year to say, what are we missing from this collection of things? So when it could be anything in the world that we're circulating, what are we missing? So that will happen, as we get into actually circulating it, and probably like a year from now, there would be another survey. But in the meantime, I will happily take your suggestion, Denise, to our group that's working on that. And there is always the request to purchase link on the website.
Great idea, Denise. Way to go. Anything else? Oh, actually, also on that list, what about light boxes for people that have seasonal affective disorder? That might be something that people would want to check out because you may not be able to afford to have those lights. So you can take that too.
I will. Thank you.
And what about sharing seeds?
Seeds?
Yeah.
Seeds.
Oh,
Steve.
Me?
Did you have something? Yes.
Yeah. How many of you are familiar with the idea of the Library of People concept? Anybody?
I read what you wrote or showed us.
Yeah, this is being done.
Or more.
Well, the idea is people kind of, my understanding is people volunteer to tell their story. And you can check out a person in the sense, and it can be done in different ways, but one way is if you would look through the different people and their stories or what they do, maybe just, where they've been, whatever the people are willing to talk about. And you arrange a time to come to the library and talk with that person about hear their story. It can be a half an hour, however you set it up. But it's a way of connecting people in the community of all ages to just be able to meet each other, talk about interesting things. Everybody has a story. Everybody has an interesting story. So it's again, the library, the palace for the people. It just is a place of connection. That's one of the great things about libraries, that it's free and anybody can walk in. So I was pretty excited about the idea. It doesn't seem very complicated. I don't know, what the limitations are. I'd want to check in with where it's being done and see logistically how they do it. But that's the basic idea is,
I think it sounds really pretty interesting. I'm sure you'd have to somehow, make sure that the people were, safe and all that kind of stuff. But good idea. Great. I would like to see the library as a social service hub, and meaning that maybe at the library you could, I don't know, apply for food stamps or get some help with job interviews, or be more of a, there's a lot of people that use the library that may not have a place to be, and it might help if they could connect with other social service agencies at the library. That's one of my ideas.
May
Anything
I comment, Chair Stark?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. This is Michelle Teed. The city is undertaking a significant effort with respect to homelessness. And while that is not the library's concern or primary concern, one of the very important pieces of this is to provide what is called a navigation center. And that navigation center provides those types of services that you are contemplating. And right now, so many of you may be aware of this, some may not. The city is working on a number of different sites where they could provide a temporary shelter, but also provide the navigation center. So it might be possible for the library to direct interested customers to the navigation center as opposed to providing those services inside the library. I realize it might be ideal from the lab's perspective to provide those at the library, but if those services or navigational assistance is available within a short geographical distance, that might be a reasonable alternative.
And Michelle, I just want to add on to what you were saying, that we've actually invited Gretchen Bennett, who is the homelessness coordinator at the city, to some meetings with us. We've talked about this from our perspective as a point of need services, because we do have, as Chair Stark pointed out, a unhoused population who does use us. And so we've started sort of talking about the ideas, but it is something that, we want to have the strategic plan process go through and also be in the new space before we go any further in the conversations. Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
Yeah.
Catherine?
Yeah, and I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Lois, but I think the idea is not so much that the library would necessarily provide needed services, but that they would be sort of a connector to connect people to other services that exist in the community, or else try to identify gaps where perhaps additional services are needed. Is that your thinking too, Lois?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if they're already there, why send them somewhere else? Or I mean, if if they're asking questions, you know, that would be my thought. So anybody else? All right. I think we're done discussing that. Catherine.
I would like to see a show of hands to see if people support the idea of the strategic planning process addressing these issues that we've listed here, including wild ideas as a broad concept. I know we've talked specifically here about Library of People, Social Service Hub, and Library of Things, but we may have other issues, other topics to add to it. So just the thought of wild ideas as a broad concept. I'd like to know whether people have any concerns or problems with any of these specific topics being discussed as part of the strategic planning process, or whether people are good with it. Could we have a show of hands?
You want a hands for we're good with it?
For the whole list, yeah.
Okay, so I'm for the whole list.
Okay. All right. Other people, well, I guess Lois, maybe you should be doing this. I don't know.
No, I think we need an action item.
Well, before we get to an action item, I wanted to know if there was general support, or do you want to wait till we get to an action item?
Okay, got it.
Okay.
All right, let's go on to action items.
Okay.
Are there any action items?
Yes.
Yes.
I have an action item.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to shut down the discussion process, but I didn't hear anything specifically. So, okay, then I make a motion that the Library Advisory Board requests that the Library Strategic Plan Steering Committee address and deliberate on the following areas of interest as part of the development of the library strategic plan. And that list would include the list right here that you have in front of you. With the exception of other topics. Nobody brought up any other topics that were not wild ideas. So just maintaining the branch libraries or co-location, Monday hours, collection development policy, fines, budget enhancement, and wild ideas. So that's my motion.
Is there a second? Steve is seconding. Thank you, Steve. All right. So we will vote on this motion, and would you mind reading it again, Catherine?
Sure. Okay. And before I start, just keep in mind that the strategic planning proposal itself does not describe it only describes process, not substance. And this is why I'm proposing this action item. I make a motion that the Library Advisory Board requests that the Library Strategic Plan Steering Committee address and deliberate on the following areas of interest as part of the development of the library strategic plan. 1, branch libraries or co-location. 2, Monday hours. 3, collection development policy. 4, fines. 5, budget enhancement. And 6, wild ideas.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor, somehow indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's unanimous. All right, there we go. I think it's a good start. Is there any other miscellaneous board items? Okay, Denise, yes.
One thing, I really do like Stevenson's idea of the Denmark library. I hope that that moves forward a little bit.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool. And I mean, just think like you could say like, I don't know, I'm painting my house. Does anybody have a story? I don't know. It'd just be cool. or even like somebody diagnosed with cancer might want to talk to somebody that's a cancer survivor. I think it's a great idea. Okay, so we're adjourned. Have fun, read, go for the joy. All right.
And
See you
we'll
next
see
time.
you in August.
In August. Yes.
Enjoy your summer.
Enjoy, yes.